The first thing Elena Marlowe noticed was the blood on the marble floor. Not much, just 3 dark drops near the elevator doors of the Valeni Tower, sharp and red against the polished white stone. The second thing she noticed was that she was already 7 minutes late for the most important interview of her life. Move, 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 she muttered to herself. Elena tightened one arm around the oversized leather portfolio pressed against her chest and sprinted through the revolving doors. Blueprints, sketches, elevation plans, and hand-rendered perspectives drifted across the lobby like oversized white feathers. A terrible silence fell. Every man around her reached inside his jacket. Guns appeared. Elena froze. The stranger she had collided with did not move. There was a faint streak of blood across one of his cuff links. Elena swallowed. "I'm so sorry." The man looked down at the hand she had instinctively placed against his chest. His expression changed. Not anger. Something colder. He seized her throat. Elena's back struck a marble pillar. The portfolio fell from her hand. The pressure of his fingers cut off her breath. One of the armed men stepped closer. "Mr. Valeni." The man silenced him with a glance. Elena clawed at his wrist, but his grip only tightened. The room blurred around her. Employees behind the reception desk stared down at their computers, pretending not to see. No one moved to help. Elena forced herself to stop struggling. Instead, she looked directly into the stranger's eyes. Behind the coldness, she saw calculation. This was not a man out of control. This was a man who had built control into a weapon. With what little air remained in her lungs, she whispered, "If you kill me, no one will finish the project your company is trying to win." His fingers stopped tightening. Elena took a painful breath. The stranger leaned closer. "What project?" "The East River Renewal." For the first time, something flickered in his expression. She continued, "Your architects are planning a luxury tower on unstable soil. Their foundation model is wrong." The men around him exchanged glances. The stranger released her. Elena dropped to one knee, coughing. He looked down at the drawings scattered across the floor. One blueprint had landed near his shoes. He picked it up. At the bottom corner was Elena's signature. The stranger studied the drawing. Then he looked at her. "What is your name?" "Elena Marlowe." His eyes sharpened. For one strange second, she thought he recognized it. Then the expression vanished. "Who are you here to see?" "Northline Architecture. I have an interview on the 42nd floor." "You're late. You tried to murder me. You were late before that." Elena pushed herself upright. "I'm beginning to understand why your building has such high staff turnover." One of the armed men made a choking sound that might have been suppressed laughter. The stranger turned his head. The man immediately became expressionless. Elena rubbed her bruised throat. "Are you going to apologize?" "No. Of course not." He handed her the blueprint. "Your foundation calculations. What about them?" "You said ours are wrong." "They are." "Prove it." "I have an interview." "Not anymore." Her face went pale. "What did you do?" The stranger took out his phone. He spoke without taking his eyes off her. "Cancel Northline's candidate interviews. Bring their senior design team to conference room 1. Elena stared at him. "You can't do that." "I just did." "Who are you?" A nearby employee dropped a folder. No one answered. The stranger buttoned his suit jacket. "Adrian Valeni." Elena's blood turned cold. Adrian Valeni was the chairman of Valeni Holdings, a multinational empire controlling construction, shipping, hotels, private security, and half the city's waterfront. Smuggling. Extortion. Adrian Valeni was not merely a businessman. "If you run," he said, "my men will bring you back." "I wasn't going to run." "You were calculating the distance." "I'm an architect. Calculating distance is part of the job." "Almost." "Pick up your drawings, Ms. Marlowe." "You could help." "I could. But you won't." "No. I already hate you." Adrian stepped into the elevator. "That makes 2 of us." 20 minutes later, Elena stood at the head of a conference table, surrounded by 12 senior architects who looked ready to have her publicly executed. Northline Architecture had been trying to secure the East River Renewal contract for 6 months. Elena had wanted nothing more than an entry-level position. Now she was standing in front of the firm's directors, explaining why their multi-million-dollar design could collapse. Adrian sat at the opposite end of the table. His hands rested calmly on the black wood. 2 armed guards stood behind him. Elena placed a tracing sheet over Northline's foundation plan. The soil report shows layered marine clay beneath the eastern section. The project director frowned. We know that. Then why are you using uniform pile spacing? Because the structural consultants approved it. They approved calculations based on last year's groundwater level. The city expanded the drainage tunnel 3 months ago. It changed the hydraulic pressure below the site. The room became quiet. That report wasn't included in the tender documents. It's public record. Buried in a municipal archive, Elena said. Page 612. You read 600 pages of drainage reports. I needed a job. Even if the pressure changed, it wouldn't be enough to compromise the structure. It would during a storm surge. The piles would experience lateral movement. The podium would crack. First, then the lower service core. She's right. How long to correct it? 6 weeks, the engineer answered. We have 10 days. That's impossible. No, it isn't. Move the public garden above a reinforced transfer platform. Shift the residential load toward the western bedrock line. Use the eastern section for a lightweight cultural pavilion and floodable landscape. You want us to redesign half the development in 10 days? I want you to avoid building a billion-dollar tomb. You don't even work here. She does now. No, I don't. Effective immediately, MS. Marlowe will join the East River Design team. In what capacity? Lead design consultant. You're insane. Possibly. I came here to apply for a junior architect position. You found a structural failure that 12 senior professionals missed. That doesn't make me qualified to lead them. It makes you more qualified than they are. And what happens when I refuse? You don't. You don't own me, Mr. Valeni. No, he said quietly. But I own the company that rejected your application 3 times. You knew? I know everything that happens in my buildings. Then you know why they rejected me. No experience. No powerful references. No wealthy clients. And a last name that makes investors nervous. Her father's company had collapsed under debt after losing its largest waterfront contract. Banks called in their loans. Partners abandoned them. Newspapers accused her father of fraud, though nothing was ever proven. Her mother's medical insurance. Her father's reputation. 10 days, Ms. Marlowe. And if I succeed, you'll be paid more than Northline's senior partners. And if I fail, the building won't be the only thing that collapses. Behind her, the project director cleared his throat. Lead consultant. 12 hostile faces watched her. She smiled without warmth. Let's begin. The next 10 days were war. Elena worked 18-hour shifts, slept beneath her desk twice, and fired 3 consultants Adrian had employed for years. Every time someone told her an idea was impossible, she proved it was not. Adrian watched all of it. He rarely praised her. He simply appeared without warning, in meetings, on construction platforms, beside her desk at 2 in the morning. He asked questions no ordinary company chairman should have understood. Load distribution, procurement schedules, material tolerances, emergency access. On the 5th night, she found him standing alone in the model room. The city glowed through the glass walls behind him. He was studying the scale model of her redesigned development. You moved the main tower, he said. 8 meters west. Why? The skyline. That isn't an engineering answer. No, it's a human one. Adrian looked at her. Elena stepped beside the model. If we leave it where Northline placed it, the tower blocks the morning sun from the public housing across the river for 4 months every year. That land isn't part of the project. The sun doesn't know property boundaries. Adrian studied the model again. Moving it costs $12 million. Yes. You spent $12 million to protect sunlight for people who don't pay us. Elena folded her arms. You asked me to design a district, not a monument to your ego. His gaze shifted toward her. Most people would have apologized. Elena did not. Keep it. She blinked. That's it. What were you expecting? A threat. Maybe light strangulation. I shouldn't have touched you. But from Adrian Valeni, it might have been a confession. You could say you're sorry. I could. And I'm considering it. Take your time. Personal growth can be frightening. Inside was a silk scarf. She wore it to the next meeting. Adrian did not mention it. But when he saw it around her neck, something in his posture eased. They submitted the redesigned proposal 9 minutes before the deadline. 3 days later, Valeni Holdings won the East River renewal contract. The city celebrated the announcement. Northline's executives opened champagne. Adrian dismissed the room after a single glass. Elena found him later on the rooftop, standing in the rain. He had removed his jacket. His white shirt clung to his shoulders. "You know, normal people celebrate indoors," she said. "Normal people don't interest me." "Of course not." She stepped beneath the overhang. "You won. We won." Elena looked at him. That sounded almost generous. "Don't become accustomed to it." The city stretched around them, wet and glittering. She felt suddenly exhausted. Adrian noticed. "When did you last sleep?" "Tuesday." "It's Friday." "I'm aware of how calendars work." "You're going home." "I still have revisions." That wasn't a suggestion. Elena looked at the rain. "I don't want to go home yet." Adrian said nothing. She rarely spoke about her apartment. It was small, quiet, and filled with boxes she had never unpacked. Going home meant remembering there was no one waiting. Her father had moved to a town upstate after the bankruptcy. Her mother had died 5 years earlier. Elena had learned to fill empty rooms with work. Adrian removed his coat from a nearby chair and held it out. "I'm not cold." "You're shivering." "I'm tired." "You're stubborn." "So are you." "Yes, but I'm armed." She took the coat. It was warm from his body. "Why this project?" "What do you mean?" "You already own half the waterfront. Why risk so much for this site?" "Because I don't like losing." "That isn't the whole answer. It's the only one you need." "I don't work well with secrets." "Then you've chosen the wrong employer." "I didn't choose you." "No. You ran into me." "We have a problem," he said. "What kind?" "The kind that arrived in a box." On the screen was a photograph of a severed marble model tower lying beside a black rose. "Leave the East River, or the real thing falls." "Dmitry Sorin?" "Most likely." "Who's Dmitry Sorin?" Elena asked. "I'm part of this project." "You're going home." "No." "Elena, you are leaving this building with 2 security officers." "You will remain inside your apartment until I tell you otherwise." "You don't give me orders outside work. I give orders wherever my enemies can reach you." "Why would they reach me?" Dmitry Sorin controlled the southern docks. Adrian had burned one of Sorin's warehouses and freed 32 women. Now the East River Project threatened to take control of the shipping corridor Sorin used to move contraband. "You should know," Luca said as the car carried them through the rain. "Most people don't negotiate with Adrian. Most people seem terrified of him. They have good instincts." "Are you terrified of him?" "No." "Why not?" "He saved my life." "When?" 15 years ago. "What happened?" "That story belongs to him." "Does he save many lives?" "More than he admits." "What did Adrian do before he became chairman?" "He survived." "That isn't an answer." "It is the only one you're getting." "Elena is taken." The attack came 2 nights later. Elena was standing in her kitchen, arguing with Adrian over the phone. "You cannot imprison me indefinitely. It has been 48 hours. That is 47 hours too many. Someone threatened to collapse your building. They threatened the project. They sent a photograph of you leaving the tower." Elena went silent. Adrian continued. "Stay inside. I can't redesign the cultural pavilion from my kitchen. You have a laptop. My models are at the office. I'll send them. You can't send a 6-foot plaster model in a car. I own trucks." "Of course you do." A sound came from the hallway. Soft. Metal scraping against metal. Elena lowered the phone. "Adrian." His voice changed immediately. "What?" "I think someone is outside." "Go to the bedroom. Lock the door." The apartment lights went out. Elena's breath caught. "Now," Adrian ordered. The front door exploded inward. Elena dropped behind the kitchen counter as suppressed gunfire tore through the cabinets. She crawled toward the hallway. One of Adrian's security men fell through the doorway, blood spreading across his shirt. Elena grabbed the heavy brass lamp beside the sofa. A masked attacker came around the corner. She swung. The lamp struck his knee. He shouted and collapsed. Elena kicked the gun away and ran. Another man blocked the bedroom door. She turned toward the fire escape. A hand caught her hair. Elena drove her elbow backward. The man grunted but did not release her. Then a cloth covered her mouth. The chemical smell was sharp and sweet. Elena fought until the walls tilted. The final thing she saw was the black silk scarf Adrian had given her, lying beneath broken glass. Adrian goes to war. She woke in darkness. Her wrists were tied behind a metal chair. Cold air moved through the room. Somewhere nearby, water struck concrete in slow, echoing drops. A warehouse. judging by the smell of rust and salt, somewhere near the docks. Elena opened her eyes fully. Dmitri Sorin sat across from her. Ms. Marlowe, he said. The woman who moved a tower for sunlight. Elena tested the rope around her wrists. You read architectural journals? I read everything about Adrian Valeni. I'm sorry. That sounds like an unhealthy obsession. Dmitri smiled. I understand why he likes you. He doesn't like me. No. He threatened me within 30 seconds of meeting me. For Adrian, that may be affection. Elena looked around. Four armed men stood near the walls. A fifth guarded the door. You want him to withdraw from the project. I want him to understand that the city does not belong to him. So you kidnapped an architect. I kidnapped the only person he has looked at like a human being in 10 years. Elena's chest tightened. You're mistaken. Dmitri stood. Am I? He walked behind her and placed a phone on a crate. The screen showed an active call. Adrian's voice came through the speaker. If you touch her, I will erase every person who has ever spoken your name. Elena had never heard him sound like that. There was no anger in his voice. Only certainty. Dmitri leaned toward the phone. Withdraw the East River bid. No. Elena stared at the phone. Dmitri's smile faded. You understand what happens next? Yes. And you still refuse? Adrian's voice remained calm. Elena, listen to me. She leaned forward. I'm here. Are you hurt? No. Can you move your hands? Dmitri's expression changed. Elena glanced down. Her fingertips touched the sharp edge of a loose metal bracket behind the chair. Adrian was not asking questions. He was giving instructions. Elena answered carefully. A little. How many men? Dmitri grabbed the phone. That's enough. Elena shouted. 5 in the room. More outside. One of the guards struck her across the face. The sound echoed through the warehouse. For half a second, the phone line went silent. Then Adrian spoke. You just killed everyone in that building. The call ended. Dmitri stared at the phone. A distant explosion shook the warehouse. The lights flickered. Gunfire erupted outside. The guards turned toward the door. Elena dragged the rope across the metal bracket. Fibers snapped. A second explosion shattered the upper windows. Smoke flooded the room. The door burst open. Adrian entered through the smoke with a pistol in each hand. He moved with terrifying precision. Dmitri seized Elena and pressed a knife to her throat. His face was splattered with blood that did not seem to be his. Drop the weapons, Dmitri said. Dmitri pressed the blade tighter. You should have left the river alone. I'm going to take one step forward. Dmitri laughed. And I'll cut her throat. No, you won't. Why not? Because she's about to break your nose. Dmitri shouted. He struck Dmitri once, then again. His hands closed around Dmitri's throat. Adrian, look at me. Dmitri's face darkened. Don't, she whispered. Finally, Adrian released Dmitri. Adrian saw the blood on her lip. May I? His thumb brushed the blood from the corner of her mouth. You came, she said. You sound surprised. You refused to leave the project. I knew Sorin would never release you. So you lied. Yes. You risked my life. No, his gaze held hers. I risked mine. Adrian removed his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Again, as if covering her with something that belonged to him could keep the rest of the world away. The man behind the monster. Elena spent one night in the hospital. Adrian stayed outside her room. He refused to enter. He's still out there? Elena asked. Luca nodded. Why won't he come in? He thinks you'll ask him to leave. I might. That's why he won't come in. Elena stared at the closed door. Tell him I'm awake. You tell him. I'm in a hospital gown. I doubt that will weaken your authority. Elena threw a pillow at him. Luca stepped aside. The pillow struck the door. It opened. Adrian stood there. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were shadowed from exhaustion. There was dried blood near his collar. Elena had never seen him look less controlled. Come in, she said. He entered slowly. Luca left and closed the door. Adrian stood near the foot of the bed. You should rest. So should you. I'm fine. You're bleeding. It isn't mine. That does not make it better. He said nothing. Elena studied him. Were you really going to kill everyone in the warehouse? Yes. You didn't hesitate. No. That should frighten me. It should. But it doesn't. Adrian's jaw tightened. It will. Is that a threat? A warning. Elena looked at the bruises on her wrists. Dmitri said you haven't looked at anyone like a human being in 10 years. Adrian's expression became unreadable. He talks too much. Is it true? No. You're a bad liar. I'm an excellent liar. Not with me. He stepped closer. That is the problem. The room grew very quiet. Elena felt the air change between them. She became suddenly aware of every inch separating them. Adrian looked at her mouth, then away. I arranged transportation to a secure house, he said. A prison with nicer curtains? A house with guards? No. Elena, I am not disappearing because two criminal men are fighting over a construction project. This is no longer about the project. Then what is it about? His eyes returned to hers. You. The word landed between them. Adrian seemed to regret it immediately. Elena's heartbeat accelerated. What about me? He moved closer to the bed. You are a liability. She stared at him. A liability? Yes. Because you care whether I live? Adrian's voice dropped. Because I cannot think clearly when you're in danger. Elena held his gaze. That sounds inconvenient. It is intolerable. She almost smiled. Then fire me. I tried. When? Every day since you arrived. And you keep being useful. Useful. Brilliant. The word escaped him like something unwillingly surrendered. Elena's expression softened. Adrian looked at her as though he had said too much. She reached for his hand. His body went still. The violence. You need stitches. No. You invaded a warehouse, but you're afraid of a needle? I am not afraid of needles. Then sit down. She cleaned the blood from his hands. You were wrong, she said. About what? You said you don't own me. I don't. But I think part of me belongs to you now. Elena, if I kiss you, he said quietly, I will not know how to do it. Halfway. Then don't. Do it completely. Adrian kissed her. He kissed her like a man who had denied himself too long and hated every second of surrender. For a moment, the hospital room, the bruises, the blood, and the city outside ceased to exist. This changes nothing, he said. You really are a terrible liar. He paid the medical expenses of the security officer injured during her kidnapping. He funded a shelter for the women rescued from Dimitri's trafficking network, though his name appeared nowhere in the documents. It was a battlefield. The more she learned, the more dangerous loving him became. Then she found the file. The truth that destroys them. The East River site had once belonged to Marlowe Construction. Elena knew that. Her father's company had been awarded the original development contract 12 years earlier. The project was supposed to save the waterfront. Instead, it destroyed her family. One evening, Elena stayed late in the Volini archive room searching for historic soil surveys. A locked digital folder appeared beneath the property records. Marlowe Acquisition, Confidential. Her hands went cold. She entered Adrian's authorization code. She knew it because he used the date of his mother's death for every secure system. The folder opened. Inside were contracts, bank statements, private correspondence, and recorded calls. Elena began reading. At first, the language was technical. Loan restructuring, material shortages, insurance disputes. Then the pattern became clear. Volini-controlled banks had purchased Marlowe Construction's debt. Volini shipping companies had delayed essential materials. A Volini-owned newspaper had published allegations of financial misconduct. Investors had been pressured to withdraw. City officials had been bribed to cancel permits. The collapse of her father's company had not been bad luck. It had been engineered. Elena scrolled faster. A document appeared near the bottom. Strategic Acquisition Order. Authorized by Adrian Volini. She stopped breathing. The signature was his. The date was 8 years earlier. Elena remembered that year. Her father sitting in darkness after the electricity was disconnected. Her mother cutting medication in half because they could not afford another prescription. Reporters outside their apartment. Her father being called a thief. Her mother dying years later with debts still attached to her name. Elena opened an audio file. Adrian's younger voice filled the room. Pressure the lenders. Freeze every account. Marlowe will surrender the waterfront site within 30 days. Another man asked, what happens to the company? That is not our concern. Elena closed the file. Adrian entered. For the first time since she had known him, Adrian Volini looked afraid. Elena, don't. Tell me it isn't real. Tell me the signature is fake. It isn't. You destroyed my family. I was 26. That is not an answer. My father ordered the acquisition. And you carried it out. Yes. My father lost everything. I know. My mother lost her health insurance. I know. She died believing her husband had failed her. I know. How? I followed what happened afterward. Why? Because your father refused to sell it first. My father ordered me to. Increase the pressure. You destroyed us because he wanted land? Yes. Do not touch me. I tried to reverse what I could. When? After my father died. You mean after you already owned the land? I cleared your father's remaining debt. Without telling him. I arranged medical support for your mother. The anonymous foundation. You paid for her treatment. Yes. Why? Because by then I understood what we had done. You understood. I was raised to believe people were pieces on a board. My family was not a piece. I know. You keep saying that. Because there is nothing else I can say. Say you regret it. I regret it every day. Say you would undo it. I would. Say you would give me back my mother. That is what I thought. Elena, I never knew you were Robert Marlowe's daughter when you entered the lobby, but you recognized my name. Yes. And you still kept me here. At first, because of the project. At first. Later, because I could not let you go. You should have told me. I wanted to. When? Before or after I fell in love with you. I love you. No. I have loved you since the night you moved a tower to protect. Sunlight. Don't do this. I love you because you challenge everything I was taught to value. Because you see people where I see risks. Because you make me want to become a man who deserves to stand beside you. You don't get to use love as an escape. I'm not. You think saying it changes what happened? No. Then why say it now? Because you deserve one truth from me before you leave. There are buildings, Elena whispered, that survive storms, fires, even earthquakes. But one hidden crack in the foundation can bring everything down. Trust is the same. Elena, I resign. I won't accept it. You don't own me. No. And this time, you don't get to stop me. If leaving me is what you need, I will not stand in your way. It was the first truly selfless thing he had ever done for her. And somehow, it hurt more than everything else. She left. 3 months without him. Elena disappeared from Adrian's life. She changed her number. She left her apartment. She refused every message sent through Luca. When Adrian's cars appeared near her father's home, she threatened to call the police. The cars vanished. Adrian kept his promise. He did not follow. For 3 months, Elena lived with her father in a small town near the mountains. Robert Marlowe had aged more than she remembered. His hair was almost entirely gray. His hands shook when he poured coffee. When Elena told him the truth about Valeni, he listened without interruption. At the end, he looked out the window. I always knew. Elena stared at him. What? Not all of it. But enough. Why didn't you tell me? Because hatred is heavy. I didn't want you carrying mine. He destroyed you. No, Robert shook his head. He destroyed my company. I destroyed myself afterward. Dad, I was too proud to start again. Too ashamed to ask for help. Your mother forgave me long before I forgave myself. Elena sat across from him. Adrian paid for Mom's treatment. I know. You knew that too? The foundation's lawyer visited me after she died. He told me the truth. And you said nothing. What would it have changed? I would never have worked for him. Then you would never have built the East River project. Elena looked away. Her father reached across the table. I'm not telling you to forgive him. I can't. Then don't. But make sure the life you build after him belongs to you, not to what he did. They had seen her East River proposal. They wanted her to lead a new urban resilience project in New York. Elena accepted. Tomorrow. 6 months later, Elena stood on the roof of a half-finished community arts center overlooking the river. The building was hers. Not literally. No, she whispered. You look well, he said. You look intrusive. I asked your project director for permission to land. You bribed him. I donated to the arts program. How much? Enough that he became cooperative. I knew there was Valeni money in this building. Only in the music classrooms. I'll tear them down. They're named after your mother. What is that? Everything I should have given your family years ago. Money. I don't want your guilt. It is not a gift. Then what is it? Restitution. You think paperwork can repair a life? No. Then why are you here? After you left, I dismantled every remaining operation my father built. Around forced acquisitions. Is he alive? Luca. The man who shot at him. He has reconsidered his behavior. I gave federal investigators records on judges and officials my father controlled. You gave evidence to the government? Yes. You could go to prison. Yes. Will you? Possibly. Why? Because you were right. That has never inspired you to surrender an empire before. No. But losing you made the empire feel very small. What does it say? Elena asked. The truth. An apology? Yes. Did my father read it? He did. You saw him? Once. When? 3 weeks ago. What did he say? He told me that forgiveness is not a debt I am entitled to collect. That sounds like him. He also told me to stop sending security teams to watch your construction site. You've been watching me? From a legal distance. Adrian, you refused protection, so you ignored me. I respected the spirit of your request. That sentence is nonsense. I missed arguing with you. I did not come to ask you to return. Good. I did not come to ask for forgiveness. Good. I came because the federal hearing is tomorrow. What hearing? I am testifying against the remaining members of my father's organization. You said you might go to prison. Yes. For how long? I don't know. And you waited until now to tell me? You left. That doesn't mean you get to disappear into prison without. Without what? I thought this belonged to you, he said. You kept it. Yes. Why? It was the first thing I gave you that you chose to accept. I cannot change the past, he said. I cannot rebuild your mother's life. I cannot return the years your father lost. And I cannot ask you to forget who I was. You may not have the rest of your life. No. You could lose everything. I already lost the only thing that mattered. Don't say things like that. They are true. Truth arriving late can still be cruel. I know. I loved you badly. And now I know love without truth is only another form of control. I should go. The helicopter left. There is a stairwell. 48 floors. I have survived worse. Adrian. And I may never be able to love you the way I did before. But I can come to the hearing. No. Tomorrow, she said. Adrian's hand remained around hers. Tomorrow, he agreed. And for now, that was enough.